And we are in for the first game of today's session. It's going to be in the NWL Lexicon, and I will be going second. So, we'll see how this goes. Currently, the priority in this rack will probably just be to dump some of the stuff that's a little more awkward. Something like Jive, for instance, GYVE, if there's going to be a place to play it, would be the kind of play that we're looking for in order to just get rid of some of the clunk and get into a better position going forward. Momentarily saying, welcome in. Coming in right at the start. So yeah, we're going second in this game, so currently just awaiting my first turn. And yeah, currently, I mean, obviously I'll need to wait for the first word to come down through the center square. But ideally, I would like to play something like Jive, if there's a place for it to go. And there will be. It's just a matter of how we go about doing this. Probably just like this. That's actually not bad. And then we try to draw something better going into the next turn. Okay, this is close to something. A little bit heavy on the vowels right now, but I think there might actually be something through to E, perhaps. Okay. Didn't know how I actually switched to green there. Oh, I think I know how, yeah. So, let's see what we can do with this, because right now, the fact that we're doubled up on the S's is actually not as good as you might think. If we have something like an A to play through, that would be something like Standers. But right now it looks very much like I will need a second vowel to play through, so either through to U, or through to E, or through whatever comes down. If neither of those opportunities present themselves, then it's okay for me to spend one of the S's, just to undouble them. And okay, there will be A's to play through, and they won't fit for something like Standers, unfortunately. Deal lates, I'm pretty sure that's good. That's not going to be something I question. Now, then the question is, do I have something else I can do in place of Standers? And is there potentially something through to U or through one of the E's? If not, then, well, we'll have to do something to get back on track. One thing that is always worth looking at is something like the NESS ending, if you have a double S. But I don't think I have anything that will go. So let's think about this. If I can think of something that will... oh, no, not quite transsued. I think we just need to play through and find something that's not too bad. It's a bit of a difficult situation to work with because I would like to keep most of these tiles, but it's not actually a choice I have right now. So something like Dense is probably not bad. If I can't find anything better that actually goes through one of the A's, I think that might be the way to go, then. Because then you still leave the possibility open of an ED ending over here. Okay, let's see. No really high potential hotspots for the X right now. But of course, with the triples open, you can still score reasonably, even if it's not going to be a crazy play. You know, even if it's something like X, or I wouldn't want to keep those tiles necessarily. I really do wonder if I missed something on that last turn, though. And that's something that I will have to think about. Scrim over here. Let's see what we can do. The other thing, too, is that if I do want to parallel and open up slightly, I can always do so down here. That's 26. It's not quite as good as just going up here in terms of points, but positionally it does open up a little bit. I think positionally it might actually constrain me a bit, though. Because while this does leave this open, it's not really markedly better than what I already have over here, I think. Although the U is not that flexible. Let's make sure I'm not missing anything really good. Yeah, unfortunately the G is not going to be too compatible with anything I have here. So, yeah, currently considering this play and this play. Because that will at least open up an S hook. But I think we'll go here. Just trying to keep pace. Okay, we've got the G and H together now. Bovid, something pertaining to cows, I think. Bovid 19. Fortunately, don't really have the T open for something like, well, not hog tire, but hog tide probably, but we don't really have anything to that effect. The G is just kind of in the way in general. But we'll see if we can turn that into anything interesting. Ogreish. I think it's actually going to be fine if it fits somewhere. I don't think it's going to fit somewhere, though. And I don't see a place where it would go, unfortunately. Because something like that would have been great. Actually, if I had played EX in the previous place, we would have had PEH at the end there, and that would have fit. But as it stands right now, I don't think I have a place. So we'll see if there's something else I can do here that will have a good fit. No need to fixate on this if it's not going to go down. But I just want to check quickly. E hook up here, that's not going to go. H here. Don't think there's anything that will go there. Maybe even something like this will go. Not the greatest play, but we do need to open up a little bit. Difficult situation. But we need to keep the lanes open, and I think that should be the priority, unless I actually do see a spot, so. Okay, that's definitely going to be something. If we have an 8 tile to play through, like an H, that would be fetishes. If not, then we have probably some other things here, but heftiest, again, that would require an additional tile. And momentarily saying, no, we played a competitive dictionary, we don't keep a PG. We don't keep it PG at all, actually. The dictionary that you're looking at here, it has only recently been made slightly less offensive. They took out some of the, I guess, racially sensitive slurs just this year. And it was a very controversial decision. But we'll maybe not get into that right now. It was a highly politicized issue, shall we say. Okay, so I was looking at something like an ing ending here in case we could hit both doubles, but I don't see it. However, can you refight somebody? So I know you can be like a fighter, but that won't fit. Can you refight somebody, like if you're a boxer? I don't know. I'm going to consider that. Let's just note that down in case we want to keep it in mind. If I can think of something that will be just a 7-letter word, that would be probably better to work with. Shifted. But I don't know if that's going to fit in the places that we want. It might not. Shifted would fit here. So something like shifted. Not a bad position, actually. 77. Bit of a risk of something like falling on that consonant over there, but vowel placement over that would actually be fairly constricted. So currently looking at either refight down here for 78, which I'm not 100% on, or looking at shifted. Also, I should think about this for just a moment in case something goes down. But I think shifted is going to be correct. Now, in this dictionary, there is no DI, so unfortunately, we won't have any plays going down here. GI works, but we don't really have anything that will end in G. That's 4 letters. SI also works, but we won't spend the S like that, unless we have a very good reason to do so. So right now, we're just a little bit heavy on vowels again, duplicate vowels specifically, and so if we can get rid of some of those and just reduce the vowel count and just get our rack back in shape, that will be the priority. I'm still about 30 points behind, 28 points behind, and that's going to affect what kind of decisions we make when it comes to what to do with the board position. Are S's considered highly sought after due to its versatility? Yes, S's are considered, in most cases, to be the second best tile in the game after the blank. The blank, of course, is the thing that's going to be the most flexible because you can designate it as anything. So the S, depending on the situation on the board, is, when you keep it on your rack, it's something that's mentally kind of like a +8 or a +12. Such that you don't want to just spend the S unless it's giving you that kind of return, usually. And yeah, there are just a lot of little heuristics like this that you figure out over time when you play this game. Trying to look at some other positions here. We don't have anything other than the S that will go down there, so... I mean, I can shed some vowels, but again, keeping the other G is maybe not the best thing to do. Although, this has the advantage of course, of opening up down there. So, let's see what we can do. Yeah, again, we do want to shed some vowels, so I don't want to do anything too small. This might not be horrible. I don't like keeping the second G, but it does open up somewhat. Actually, it doesn't score very well. I think maybe it's not the kind of thing we want. Something like this was good because it keeps a good rack and it allows me to tag a whole bunch of stuff at the end. The E goes here, the D goes here, the S goes here. So it doesn't score very much, but I think it's the kind of play that we actually do need. Even though it's going to open up a lane that kind of hugs the triple lane down low, and so positionally maybe it's actually kind of worse than leaving the S here, but we will see what we can do. I'm not really scoring well enough with those in-between plays right now, but there might have been something better with that rack that we could have used it for, so. So yeah, as I was saying, the S is definitely something that you don't just want to spend for one extra point, for instance. You do want to keep it for potential positions like this, or just set up bigger plays with it. Now, let's see what we can do here. The only tile that goes here is going to be O, so we can't just go down here. We'll need to just take a look at this. I was thinking that I hadn't seen very many eyes so far this game, and indeed there are a lot of eyes left in the bag. But currently, it's sort of in my interest to keep things more or less open. This doesn't score nearly enough and keeps to double D. Something like this is not bad. Does open up an additional lane there, although I have to think about Bam taking an S for a moment in this dictionary. I think it does. But I think it will go with that, actually. 27 points, and positionally gives me another S lane. I think that's probably what we want now. Here, still going a little bit vowel heavy. The consonant vowel balance in the pool right now looks decently reasonable. One thing to keep track of is that the Q is still unseen, and there is only one U remaining. Internet. Okay, that's going to cause some trouble here. It's going to block off this lane, and it's going to open up this, but it's much lower scoring over there, and indeed, it's not like I can make much use of it right now. So, this is going to be a bit of a tricky situation. Let me see if I can do anything useful using the Y. Yeah, I don't know, because I don't really want to keep the U in spite of the fact that the Q is still out there. Like, it's not going to be great. Otherwise, I would consider something like this. Or, I mean, this doesn't really improve my position. Y does go at the end of funk. It was something like funky, but the problem with that is that you start blocking off other positions that you need, but yeah, currently too many vowels for me to be keeping that many vowels. So yeah, I am kind of drawing difficult racks. Sometimes drawing difficult racks is a function of like not controlling your rack very well earlier in the game. Sometimes, of course, you just need to play through some runs of, well, bad luck, I guess, but that's just part of the game. You learn how to manage that sort of thing and get your way out of those situations. But right now, yeah, don't really like what I'm looking at. I'm trying to find some way I can get rid of some of these vowels while scoring decently. And the board is starting to close up quite a bit. I mean, I could do something like this, except it just keeps too many vowels, right? And it also blocks off the bottom. Something like this doesn't really open up too much, and it actually kills my spot here. Really not a great place to be in. If I can figure out somewhere to go with that, that would spend some vowels, that would be great. But this is kind of a tricky turn. I'm also running really low on time. I'm in a very bad situation here, actually. Yeah, let's just play off a bit. Okay, this, I think, actually might be something. It is carousel through an A. It is... let me see here. I'm trying to see if there's anything through the M. I feel like this actually is something, but... board is closing up really quickly on me here, though. So if there is something, I do need to think about it. Is it frowned upon to block off sections or smart strategy? It's absolutely part of the game. Especially in this dictionary, which is the smaller of the two competitive dictionaries. You are absolutely expected to know how to play defensively to block your opponent, especially if you are way ahead like my opponent is right now. If you're 100 points ahead, you want to close down the board and limit your opponent so they have fewer opportunities to make some kind of surprising comeback. Yeah, I'm missing something here, but due to time pressure, I feel like I'm not seeing it. Like I said, carousel through an A, but we don't have that. Yeah, I might need to open up a spot somehow. And I'm so far down on time right now, it's really kind of a terrible situation. I don't want to just spend my S, but I don't know how much of a choice I have, just given how far down I'm looking. Let's see if we can do anything. Might have to go... Yeah, I have to play faster. This is getting out of control. I don't know, like... This looks really familiar, and I feel like there's got to be something to look at. Meg, welcome. Yeah, and I'm glad this has been a learning experience. I'm glad it's also been pulling in some people from outside of the existing Scrabble scene. Okay, here's how we're going to do it. Dump these two. This is going to be Solarette. I don't actually have a place to play it, though. Yes, I do. If this remains open, I have Solarette down here. It'll look like this. This is my first choice play. And now we're in a bit better business. Notice that we're down to 5 tiles in a bag. I am likely going to lose this game, but there is some volatility here coming from the fact that you have QU blank still unseen. 5 tiles left. Momentarily sane. Yeah, try defining that properly. Okay, so we're actually in a really interesting situation here. Given the fact that there are 3 I's, a U, and a blank, my opponent is unlikely to be stuck with the Q. If they do have the Q. If they already have QI, though, I don't know why you wouldn't just drop it here immediately and take the win. If there's a lot of hesitation over taking this spot or doing a high-scoring play with the Q, then that's where it gets interesting, because then we can start reading into how to play around the presence or absence of the Q. And this is one of the hardest things to learn about Scrabble, is what to do with the late game Q situations. So yeah, that's exactly what I predicted if he had it. And so he takes it, he's going to win now. But there was a lot of uncertainty coming out of that turn. So this is going to be a lost game, but we put up a fight. I really do feel like with the turn when I played off CU, I almost certainly missed something, but yeah, at this point we'll just play it out to see if we end up with a decent score. So yeah, QI is actually the most commonly played word in Scrabble, because very often you're in a situation where you have Q and no U, and this is the easiest way to get rid of it. The most common word used to be QAT, before QI was added to the dictionary in the mid-2000s. And for the exact same reason, that having short plays that can dump the Q without the U is something that's extremely valuable. So one of the first things that anybody learns one of the first things anybody learns when they play this game is all of the words that have the Q but not the U, so you can get out of those kinds of situations. It's a very short list. There's not much in it. But it's something that's absolutely essential to know. Momentarily sane. Usually when you kind of balance the losing or winning scores as such, players at my level will average around 400. Because most wins will come out over 400. Most losses, well, it depends on the game. Obviously, games on really defensive boards will score lower on both sides. Games on really open boards where most of the plays are, big words, bingos that stretch the board all over the place, like those will be very high scoring. But in general, the kind of player average at the competitive level, once you kind of account for both wins and losses, winds up at around 400. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be a losing game again, but we'll try to play out of the remainder here just to get some of that practice in. I'm trying to see if there's maybe... I think curia is... I'm trying to remember if this is actually a plural of curium. The element, I think it is. We do need to do something like that in order to close this out, and then after that we would have a play like this, except my opponent is likely to finish this turn anyway. But my opponent is also likely to want to use the H there, so... Yeah, given that this will be my last play, I want the highest scoring play possible, including minimizing the remaining tiles on my rack. So we will try to do that somehow. And... yeah, I mean, it's not a very flexible board, so... 8 points there, 9 points there, 16 here, but then my opponent will take the H in the other spot. And he's likely to do some kind of big play with the H anyway. Let's just do it. And I think that's pretty much all we can do. And yeah, we'll just await my opponent's last play. This will almost certainly be his last play. He's got lots and lots of options, as far as I can tell. Sometimes I might speak too soon when it comes to that sort of thing, but I mean, you know, I am kind of looking around to see what he's able to put down. If he just wants to go for points instead of playing off all his tiles at once, you know, there's something like using the blank as R and going Ruth or something, for example. And then the H by itself would make that about a 30-point play. Yeah, 27-point play, I guess. So that's one thing he could look at if he's not playing everything off. However, it's very easy for him to just play off the remaining tiles, and it's usually in your interest to do so. Because when you expend your final rack, you get the value of your opponent's rack times 2. So not only do I not get to play my turn, but he will get a +6. And yeah, there you go. That's the play. So we'll confirm. And all words on the board are confirmed to be valid. So a lot of really cool ones over here, you know, like Bovid, Scrim. A lot of bingos all over the board, actually, even though I kind of got mine down rather late. And we'll see what we can do. So yeah, let me just check the time here. We probably do have time to go over the game on the analysis board very quickly, and just to see what kind of plays we missed. So momentarily sane, the engine does detect fake words, but we're playing something called Double Challenge, as you can see in the top right here. Double Challenge means that the onus is on you to call your opponent on a word when they play something that's not in the dictionary. If you challenge the word and you're correct that it's not a real word, then they lose the word and they lose their turn. If you're incorrect, though, you lose your turn. It's a little different from something called 5-point challenge, which you'll also see me play in some other games here, which is less risky for the person making the challenge, because instead of losing your turn if you guess wrong, you just give your opponent like an extra 5 points in difference. But the engine does tell me in the chat window, which you can't see because I hide it for privacy reasons, it tells you in the chat window at the very end of the game if all of the words that went down on the board were in fact correct. Yeah. When you're first starting out, you can play something called a Void Challenge. A Void Challenge is when the engine doesn't even let you play anything that is not a word in the dictionary. And so as a training mode, that's much better for people who are learning the game. Because when you're playing on computer, you can do that, unlike in real life, where the computer will just not let you play an illegal move. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about phonies. As a phony is a word that you get away with that is not in a dictionary. Anyway, let's look over the board. And yeah, my opponent's going to start with something really quite vowel heavy. He's going to go for a small play here instead of pulau. Let me just make sure I can see what's going on in my outer window. Okay, yeah, so like I said, I wanted to play off jive. Yeah, momentarily sane. In real life, when you challenge a word, these days you go up to a computer where you type in a word and it does a dictionary lookup for you. Back before they had computer challenges, you would actually call over a tournament director who would manually look in a dictionary, but that hasn't really been done for the past 20 years or so, I would say. Ever since computer challenges started coming in. Yeah, he's going to find dilates. Adulates was another option for slightly fewer points. This is a risky position. Risky because it opens up this, but luckily for my opponent, I didn't really have anything I could do with it. So I was kind of right that I did not miss anything on this turn here, where I was hoping to have something like standards through DA. Not only did I not miss anything, but I actually did find the play that, in terms of what we call equity, which is the point value on the board and the point value of your rack, that was actually best. So that's the value you see in the right side column here. So in the middle column, that's the number of points that a play scores. The right side is the engine evaluation of how much the play is worth when you consider the tiles that are left on your rack afterwards. In Yamumuga, unfortunately, I'm not in the dictionary, but there are a lot of things similar to me that are. And welcome in, Mamuga. So yeah, this is the play where I was considering a couple of options. I was considering X up there, but I didn't like RIGS. Maybe I ruled that out a little too quickly, considering that this would have opened up a decent spot for both the R and the S going that way. Yeah. Considering how far down I was, I don't think I would have wanted to just spend the S at this point. Even for something as sext. I didn't actually consider this. This would not have been too bad. But I just didn't see something like Ride. I think that's an okay play, it's just something that doesn't improve my position. Bovid was something that my opponent capitalized on immediately. Azito would have scored a lot better, but... Yeah, so notice how this is 36 points, this is 54 points, but... This is recommended pretty much equally because keeping the Z versus keeping the V makes that big of a difference. If he had seen Azito, though, I think he might actually have played it. But of course, this is actually a more defensive position because not as much fits under BO there as fits under the A. I did miss something here. I missed Roughies. I thought I missed it. And yeah, Ruffy is a small fish having rough scales. And I do know the word, I just, I was looking at different ways to use the GH combination, I just could not see it. Momentarily saying you've come to the conclusion it's chess with words, yeah, and a little bit of randomness. There are a lot of people who also cross over between Scrabble and poker because they like the element of playing around incomplete information. The next pairings are coming up fairly quickly, so... Ooh, Fishiest. I missed a really good play here with the H landing on the triple letter hotspot. That would have been 92 points. Much better than what I actually got. And yeah, Refights is good. Tile fish. That's something we do in Scrabble all the time. We fish for tiles. That's a really good one to know, actually, tile fish. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Fishiest would have been by far the best. I'm going to have to rush through this because the next game is coming in fairly quickly. I just want to see if I missed anything really critical. Yeah, Med, that was fine here. Notice that my opponent didn't actually score very much for Intranet, but that's still far better than the nearest play. Okay, so this was recommended by the engine, but one thing to remember is that the engine only considers score and leave. It doesn't consider position, and I really didn't like what this was doing to the position. And yeah, I missed it. Closure and Collier's, which I was looking for something similar. I don't think I knew Collier's very confidently, and that's why I passed on it. Or I didn't really see it, rather. I was looking at something like Colors or something similar, but we just missed Closure. Anyway, we finally had some closure about that turn. And I don't think there's much else to look at the end, so we'll just get right into the next game. So that's the big mistake we made, just didn't play Closure. Let's get into the next round. Second round is going to be in the same dictionary, the North American Dictionary NWL. And, well, it's not a word made up for Scrabble. It's actually a kind of fish, if you're talking about the tile fish. But there are a lot of things that feel like they have Scrabble meanings, so. Because in Scrabble, the kind of lingo that we use when you play off just one tile or two tiles because you think you're very close to drawing something out of the bag that's good, that's called a fish. And sometimes it is, in fact, the correct thing to do strategically. Anyway, I believe that apiaries is actually good, and in fact takes the J in front for japeries. So it's not my turn right now, but when it is my turn, I will be looking for a place to play apiaries. And of course, if my opponent just gives me a J somewhere, that would be incredible. I'm pretty sure this is correct, though. So yeah, we'll just sit around and see if the first play is actually going to be cooperative in terms of giving me a good position. One thing I should be thinking ahead to is whether we will be able to play through one of these tiles as well for an 8-tile play. But I don't think so. I think we're just going to play apiaries somewhere. Now, Doug actually takes an S on the end. The thing is, any of these positions, so this one here for 69 points, and this one here for 69 points, either of those is going to create the situation where the J is going to hit like crazy. But the J, there's only one J in the bag, so that's kind of an edge case scenario we don't really have to worry about. I'm not going to do this position because this kind of setup is highly risky. Like, my opponent can come back with like a 50-point play right away. So I think it's going to be this, and whoever draws the J and makes use of that will have a grand old time. Unless it gets blocked. Okay, we've got a couple of things here. We have neonates through the E, so if it remains open, I'll be playing something like this. 68 points over there. Let's check the other positions as well in case I want to do that. I like that position, though. And yeah, because this is the other... This doesn't reach, does it? Oh yeah, it does. But I don't like all the hot spots it's creating here and so on, so... We'll go up here. Also kind of restricts any kind of giant X-bomb down that location as well. So, let's see what we can do over here. We've got the Z. Kind of a wild game already. One thing we could do is just Zin over here, and that actually sheds some consonants, undoubles the N. That actually looks like a great play. Except Q is going to go down and block it. So, let's see if there's something else we can do. We can always do something like that. Of course, you know, things like an E or a G or whatever can go down here and extend that a bit. I am considering it, though. It's only at 27 points. We might be able to do better. 28 points up here if we want to have a very similar idea. Of course, I'm kind of thinking about this, too, and seeing if there's anything we can do. There's also Izar, but we don't want to leave that hook dangling, I think. Because if I'm not mistaken, it also takes an S in front for Sizar. So we wouldn't want to do something like that. Looking at the TZ ending here. Yeah, you know, let's just pick something. There's also... Let's see. I think we'll just go here. I think that's reasonable. Unless we want to keep the Z for something. Oh, no, let's just do it. Okay, you're going to look at the UN start, but double R is going to be a bit of an issue here, so... Ooh. That hit it pretty hard, actually. That's a 34-point play. So that's the kind of scale of play where, especially if you're very consonant heavy, you can see why you would just use the S. One thing to remember is that IN does take the K on the end in case we have something like if we want to do rake or something, but the problem with rake, of course, is that you potentially get yourself into some danger down there. But if you have something like nuke, that would be good, except for the double R. But that at least has the benefit of not opening down there. I don't know, though. We basically have to weigh, like, is it better to keep ARR, or is it better to keep RUN and have that dangerous position on the left? Anyway, we'll probably consider nuke. We might also consider some other stuff. Ideally, I'd get rid of one of the R's. So let me just think about this a little more carefully. So yeah, probably going to... Maybe park over here is actually not bad. I like that, in fact. I mean, the U is not really great. Here, the benefit of playing over here would have been that the K is one of the only tiles that's going to make much use out of that IN spot. N goes there too, of course, and S. But the K is something that would actually score in that position. But I think I'm okay with what I played. It does kind of open up. But I'm not so far ahead that I should just be prioritizing locking down. Momentarily saying that, is the amount of tiles always the same every game? Yes. There is a specific distribution of 100 tiles. The number of each letter is always the same, and so it is something that even fairly new players totally have by memory. Like, everybody knows there's 4 S's, 1 X, 1 Q, 2 blanks, etc. Like, you just know that stuff. Early on, as you're starting the game, you might only kind of keep that in mind for the really critical pieces. But I would say even at a beginner level, people absolutely know all of the point values and all of the numbers of tiles in the bag, so they know what is left. Okay, let's see what we can do here. I would like this. Always like to check the MEN ending. You just never know. But yeah, not a lot of potential on this board right now, actually. Notice how the J spot that I've been talking about all along is still open. I don't know if anybody will actually take it by the end of the game, but it's a neat thing to think about. Something like Rune is not too bad here, actually. I don't think it takes anything in front. I actually kind of like that, given what I'm currently looking at. It doesn't score that well, but I'm just thinking about what else we could have. Yeah, no, we'll do it. We'll do it. Okay. Unfortunately, you can't have a meatlet, I don't think. So yeah, we'll just think about this. I in the back here, yeah, obviously this is just kind of a rack management play for my opponent. If you're playing IWI, you're probably staring at something absolutely terrible. This location is something that we need to keep in mind in case something is actually going to go there. And let's see what we can do. And yeah, stuff like obia, as you were looking up, like 4-letter words with 3 vowels, like that's all stuff that's very useful to know early on as well, because it can get you out of a ton of trouble. I kind of like something like mage, except it does keep double T. I don't know if we want to do that. Yeah, this lane down here has a lot of danger attached to it. So let's see what we can do. Even something like just Mets over here. Now, TAS does take the E in front, but we have an E. We can take advantage of that next turn, maybe. No, we can also... No, we want to undouble the T. Let's do that. Hey, here's the J. Here's the J. Do we actually have something decent with it that will actually go? I mean, we have the blank. This, of course, will only fit a 6-point play. I mean, if you're playing out to J here, it'd mostly just be for style. Do we have something that goes with jet? Like jet lag? If jet lag is a single word, that's 56 points. I don't know if that's worth burning the blank. It might not be. The blank, as I said, is the most valuable tile in the game, so we don't just want to spend it willy-nilly. But I am ahead by enough that, like, I wonder if doing something like that would be fine. Because the nearest plays that we would be talking about is like 28 here and 28 there with a slightly worse leave. And either of those would sort of be investments in keeping the blank for some kind of big play, right? This might actually be the better play, despite being almost 30 points lower. You know what? No, we're ahead. Let's go for style. Let's go for style. Unless I can think of something better using my tiles. That's almost certainly a bad move, actually. Now that I look at it. I think the rational thing to do was actually to play J here and keep the blank, but when you look at the analyzer, that will probably make it very clear. Oh, very nice play over there. I'm way too stuffed with vowels right now, so let's see what we can do. If we can get something down here, I'm trying to think about like whether you can have like lovey-dovey, you know. No, we don't have a V. Never mind, what am I talking about? If I can do something that lands the Y on the last spot there, that would be really great. Otherwise, we'll just do something similar that just gets rid of a bunch of the stuff like Coid. Maybe even cloyed, but I don't know if I want to dangle the C down there. But if I can put Y in this position, that's going to be first choice, I think. Like Coney. Let me think about this. Make sure I'm not thinking about Coney Island and actually thinking about the thing that it means. Yeah, detaching the G from the N is not great, but we will do it. Okay, we have bulged. We have, unfortunately, not quite bludgeon. If we have an 8th tile to play through, we actually would have had bludgeon, like we had an N in the end somewhere. X in the front position here is not going to give me anything interesting. However, E is going to go down here if we, for example... Oh, I wanted to play Geld, except Wog, I think, is actually taken out of the dictionary now because it is a slur. That's too bad. I have to remember that. I often forget, actually, because words like that were only very recently removed. And let me allow that. You see, even Twitch tries to take that out. My bot is actually on the last edition of the dictionary, so the bot does not reflect the fact that that word may have been taken out. I have to remember to update my bot, actually, because it's still in the old version. Let me see what I can do here, then, because... So you say I'm momentarily saying the auto mod on Twitch actually held that. The funny thing is, the auto mod on Twitch has actually been killing a bunch of people's maker codes and level IDs lately. I kind of want to take out this spot because it's so dangerous right now. But it's hard for me to do it without killing my rack. You know, because I'd have to do something like Eld. Unfortunately, there's no Eld bug. Let me make sure there's nothing I'm missing. Like I said, I saw Bludgeon early, but there's nothing. Burgled, but there's no place to play Burgled. But I'm trying to look at like something through the R. So yeah, if we actually had a place to play it, Burgled would have been, or Bungled would have been great, but there's no place, so. Or is there? No. Just looking at this, and fortunately I don't see it. Let's just kill it. Still going to open up a lane here, but at least it's not something that's going to score into triple, so. I do kind of wonder if I missed something that turn, like going through here or here. Here's the thing about Camp. It does take an S in front for Scamp. And my opponent is holding the remaining S, so I think he might be trying to set up something massive there. In which case... I mean, it won't be a really killer play because it's not going to go all the way over to the O, but I feel like this is a setup for the S because my opponent has the remaining S, although he doesn't have the blank. So it might even be fine to use the blank defensively like this for something like Soba. No. Hang on, let me think about this. Am I thinking of something different? I'm thinking of Japanese food for some reason. Soba. Or sofa, for that matter. Unless there's a better position that I can do here. I think I'll take it. It's so weird to have a game where I'm spending both blanks on 50-point plays. Usually you keep a blank for bingos, but... That's going to give me a nice safety margin as my opponent plays Augites and gets him up to 346. He's still behind, as you can see. Here, I just need to play off some of this junk. Probably, I mean, H goes here, but you know, probably with something like just a Fug or just something with the other tiles. Okay, so my opponent is almost certainly going to find some place to go with the remaining tiles. So one place that he could do, for instance, is Uredial, Uredial. So he does have some places to go for very few points. The thing that I could lose to potentially is if I have too much high-scoring stuff on my rack, such that I give away a lot of points in return. So I need to consider that. So for example, if I play Fug over here, it has 26. That should still win. But it means that that will be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That'll be a minus 24 on my side, so that's just going to be a plus 2. But he's not going to score like 40-some points with his tiles in one play. So that's probably still okay. I'm going to see if there's maybe something better that I can do here. Something like Hub. 31 points. 31 minus 22, so that's a plus 9. And I just need to not just sit on all these consonants indefinitely. I think this is actually going to be fine. Let's do it. Yeah, momentarily saying you learn all kinds of dirty words when you play this game. They didn't take out all the dirty words, they just took out the ones that are considered sort of offensive when directed at people. Directed at things like specific racial groups or gender identities or, you know, various things like that. Kind of funny, if I had an I, this would have been a really interesting position up here. Like go CHI and FIZ up top. But we didn't have the I for that, so... Anyway, like I said, I definitely do see a place for my opponent to go if he wants to play all the remaining tiles. Uredial over here, but it will be a losing play because it doesn't score enough. Also, when I was thinking about Rune earlier, notice that one thing I hadn't pointed out was that I just totally forgot about Prune going in front. So that was potentially a mistake. But yeah, this will be an interesting board to look at afterwards in terms of whether spending the blanks was the right idea in either circumstance. Now, because again, Jet Lag performed about 30 points better than the nearest play, but on that play, keeping the blank might have had much better potential going into future turns, right? So, yeah, usually you don't see people spend the blank on a play that's under 60 points or so, except in certain strategic circumstances. This, I think, was one such circumstance, because I knew there was one remaining S and that I did not have it. And so it was kind of important to kill that, and I think this is a play that I felt very good about. Because I'm not just saving the blank for something that is potentially good, I'm just kind of scoring now and locking in the win while I can. And so the fact that it allowed me to outrun the 77-point Augites was something that I'm pretty happy with, I think. Let me see if I can find what else my opponent can actually play other than Uredial. I think there might be something through the C, but... no, not in this position, I don't think. And it's not going to be anything through the O, because the only 7-letter word with those 6 tiles plus O is Dariole, ending in L-E, D-A-R-I-O-L-E, and so you won't find it through the O. So yeah, Uridial is the only play I see, actually. Now, given that it was the only play I see, I probably could have blocked it, but for me, the priority is to just like outscore and make sure I don't lose to the fact that I have 11 points worth of tiles in my rack. So yeah, the tile bag area tells you which tiles you are not seeing currently. So it's a combination of your opponent's tiles and the tiles that are still in the bag, and you don't know which is which until the end of the game when the bag is empty. Once the bag is empty, you always know exactly what your opponent has. This is true in sort of real-world Scrabble as well, by the way, because when people play in real life, what they do is they actually write down, or rather they cross off the tiles that haven't played so they see what's remaining on paper. Okay. I'll probably just play something like Flow here. That's 10 points minus 6. That's going to be plus 3. Sorry. Plus 4, rather. Unless there is something else I can do. I hear that's 17 points minus 14. That's also plus 3. So that's an equivalent play, basically. Gotta move quickly here. I am running out of time. I can go here. That's 10 points. No, minus 12. It's not going to go. Let's just do that. 10 minus 6 plus 4. Yeah, okay. And I think my opponent is definitely going to play the rest of his tiles here and get a plus 6 off of me. So yeah, interesting game here. Like I said, the thing that makes this game a little bit unique is just the way the blanks went down. It's sort of an unconventional approach for me, but I think Sofa was definitely correct. Jet Lag, I think, was more of a play I picked for style. But it's not bad. Like, it's not a terrible play. It's just that strategically, I don't know if maybe Jap was the right thing to do there. It's just that I was staring at his J spot the whole game and desperately wanted to use it. Oh, he's just going to play off. Okay, because he knows that I've got tiles that are practically unusable. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, so what's going on here is that he's figuring that he can get more points off of playing off one tile at a time. No, once again, I have to remember that's not good. Let's just go gut here, I think. 8, 7, go over to gut. And yeah, I know. Shame about NWL20 because I looked at this so many times. It also revealed the fact that I haven't updated my bot because my bot is still apparently on NWL18. But there were a lot of plays I was looking at here earlier that, for the sake of getting the rack cleaned up, really could have benefited from a G. But I'm glad I actually stopped myself and caught it, because very often I just play that automatically. And I nearly did it just now twice. So, grid, yeah, we'll pass on it here. Okay, just gonna congratulate my opponent quickly. All words here are valid. And thank you for the GGs. So yeah, once again, I'll want to go through this game just to see if the stuff I was pulling with the blanks was actually okay. You know, spending them both on 50-point plays is, as I said, kind of unusual for me, but we tried it out. Okay, let me just switch to the examiner board, because we'll have time to go through it at least quickly. And we'll see how it goes. So yeah, oh, okay, my opponent is actually going to miss dotting. He looked at this for a while as first play. It is a bit of a weird one. I believe a dottier or something like that is also... Oh no, I always get these things mixed up. But... let me just check one thing here. If I can... I'm thinking of something with dotting, like DAUT, that is similar. Anyway, I saw apiaries right away. Like I said, either position would open up for the J. This one would not have, except for, of course, stringing the J through there, but that was unlikely to remain open. Airspeed I didn't consider, but that's kind of a terrible position. I think I picked the right one. I'm happy with it. My opponent points out to me, by the way, that I forgot about the N hook for naperies, which would have been really interesting, and makes that look a lot riskier than I considered at first, in fact. Because I just completely forgot about naperies. Anyway, this is always a good set to know. Ideation, iodinate, tenioid. Neonates, I'm not going to have anything better there, I think. I was happy with that position. I did consider some of the other ones. So look at this anti-noise through two disconnected tiles. That would have been fancy. And anti-noise would be an adjective, so it doesn't take an S on the end either. I mean, I think I would have sacrificed the 7 points for style if I had actually seen that or ever considered it, but not so, unfortunately. Yeah, so this was a turn when I was looking at this Z for this spot here, and then... oh, interesting, that he's actually going to keep the I instead of going here. Okay. Yeah, so I missed naperies. Otherwise, I would have considered that. I didn't even see it at all. Just never considered it. Given that I was trying to play off ZIN on that turn anyway, that is easily first choice. I don't think I actually knew Kaizen. A Japanese business practice of continuous improvement, which, considering its similarity to the Mario jargon Kaizo, is highly appropriate. Yeah, momentarily saying Google Rewards is now well aware that you've been searching for WOGs. Look at this sorority on this dreadful rack. This absolutely horrifying rack. But yeah, this is the kind of wreck where, you know, you wouldn't even think to look for the bingo unless, of course, you're a player who's done enough study into low probability to kind of recognize that you might be sitting on something. And yeah, ranker. Once again, just totally forgetting naperies over and over. Obia is going to kill that spot, though. Interesting measure through here to dump some of this stuff. I don't know if I would have wanted to play off both E's at that point, but half the E's were still remaining in the bag, so... Yeah, it looks like most of the recommendations here do involve playing off the U rather than keeping it, so... but apart from measure, most of them are pretty close. And yeah, a lot of these options are not great. You can kind of see why he went for Kiwi up top. Partly as the player who's behind, he's opening up space. Oh, I didn't even think about Parka. That would have been a good one to see. Kind of opens up like crazy, but at the same time, WE is not as good a start as you might think it is. But I just never even thought about A going on the end of Park. And yeah, I just played Mets down there. That's a little further down the list. I mean, a lot of these plays are fairly defensible, just a matter of what you want to do positionally, and so I'm okay with not opening up the triple column on the right side. Doolies. Interesting. A stretch for the sick or wounded. You know, I recently played a phony in another game, actually, where I tried to play coolies with this spelling. So coolies is actually either C-O-O-L-I-E-S or C-O-U-L-E-E-S, and I played it C-O-O-L-E-E-S, which is no good. But it's kind of good to know that if you're sitting on a blank with coolies, you can just go doolies. Which is, once again... Oh, yeah, that kind of doolie, yeah. A stretcher, yeah. I just don't think I remembered this spelling for it, actually. Oh my goodness, look at this. Crazy. Also, there was something I missed up top with the C in a better position off Japeries. Jacket would have scored 68, essentially bingo grade, but abjectly. 110 points if I had seen that. So... I think I was thinking briefly about LY here, and I just did not find anything close to that. I just didn't take this lane seriously enough. Yeah, Jacket would have been pretty much strictly better than Jet Lag. And I was looking for something like that using the C, but the blank... I just didn't really visualize that, I guess. So yeah, definitely better options there, but the better options were not... Well, you can see that Jab actually does evaluate higher than Jet Lag. Barrage down here, even if it kind of closes up a bit on the bottom right. But they're actually fairly close, just 3 points apart in the evaluation, so... Obviously, though, if I were going for the Japery spot, should have thought about Jacket. Missed Hosel here. Part of a golf club. But he's going to try to get rid of the V, and he's also keeping S in case he can use it. And yeah, here's the turn where I was trying to think about various options. I did think about Cloyd, Coney, Coyd. I didn't think about Dogi. which is nicer here because the tiles remaining go better with each other because of the way that C and L have a bit of a synergy. Also, D and the N position here has more potential for bingos, but I'm ahead at this point, so I think playing closed is actually okay. Especially because the C blocks off anything going parallel down here. Okay, Vox. Yeah, that's pretty much what's going to happen with this rack. This is actually not bad either. Because here he's opening this for the S, or potentially an E if he picks it up, but it is kind of closing down potential lanes as well, and so given that this scores very similarly without shutting very much, it might actually have been slightly better. There is a spot for blood. Why didn't I see that? I was looking at bludgeon. I even said so. And oh, I know what was going on. I was looking for an N on the board to play into, and I didn't even look at the O. Because I looked at the rack, and the first thing I saw was bludgeon through something, and I just completely blanked on this O. I was also looking at this position. That's when I saw burgled, but I just didn't see grumbled. So that was just a bad turn on my part. Yeah, considering that I even said on stream that I saw bludgeon, the fact that I just didn't play it was really quite a miss. But yeah, this was the turn where I was hoping for something down here, but... Okay, so that was not my proudest moment. So yeah, as you can see, he's already holding S at this point when he plays a camp up front. He's playing it specifically to set up for the S. Hoping to draw into something better with it, of course. And Sofa, I think, is going to be a pretty decent play here. Yeah, something like Gov is still going to be available. One thing that the engine evaluation does not do is consider your opponent's behavior in terms of what they might be setting up to do. It does not play the psychological side of the game, and so that does affect our decisions sometimes. All Gates is going to be the obvious play. Hub is pretty much what I did. It is, at this point, it's just going to go into a totally deterministic endgame, and so that is the best play. I did see Uridial, my opponent did not. Because it prevents me from playing further, it is going to be the play that is worth the most in terms of closing spread, even though it's only going to score 10 points and get about 22 points off of me, so that's why it's worth 32. There's plus 10 here and plus 22 off my rack. And didn't see that position here, but found the second best thing, and oh wow, look at this. That would have been fancy. I was surprised that my opponent didn't play Dire here, actually. But he probably thought he could slow play ahead of me and cover some spread, and didn't see Zing. Okay. So yeah, I have to work on some of the in-game board vision, perhaps. But that is going to be it for that round. So. Okay, looks like I'm a little ahead of schedule in terms of the next pairing not coming in yet. We can look around at some of the other boards, perhaps. I also kind of rushed through the ending of the game 1 that we had. But we can spectate for a bit if some games are still going on. So just let me see what's happening. Yeah, we're currently just waiting on one game here. We can just take a look. they've got lots to go, actually. Given that they're in the other pairing division, we might have pairings up for my group before this group is done. But I'm not entirely sure, so... this one here, actually, when I see this, the first thing I see is that this board looks really locked up. That you have not very many places that you can go, actually. Page is not a word, by the way. Page is actually a phony that one of the players got away with. And this went unchallenged, so that's the kind of scenario that we're talking about. I kind of like that when you are in the spectator mode, you can in fact see that it is not a word. It'll just tell you. So hopefully nobody tries to put an S on this thing or something with the remaining S or blank. But yeah, this is actually a really difficult board to play off of. Because where are you going to go, right? Like, you can't really do anything interesting on a single play, especially because nothing will go here, I don't think, as a onward. So now we have a little bit of room opened up by the H. S goes here. Obviously, there are going to be plays that go up here as well. Momentarily sane, what happens is if somebody connects something else to it and makes a new word, like if they try to put an S onto it, then you can challenge that play. Otherwise, it stays on the board normally. But if you connect a word, every new word that you make has to be something valid in order for the play to survive a challenge. So if you created something by putting on an additional tile, then that would be a new phony that would be subject to challenge. And yeah, just going to go over their play log here to see what's been going on. It seems like Hippier and Tinsel's was the big exchange of the middle game here, with them going back and forth on those. Yeah, other than that, it looks like they've been struggling to open up space on a really lockdown board. C, for instance, C doesn't have any two-letter words in this dictionary, so nothing can go directly down there. You have to open up something first. Like, you have to create something else in order for a valid play to go upwards. So I'm looking at the over start with this. Unfortunately, I don't think there is anything that will go with that. One interesting thing here is S will go here. A will also go here, and so there is some potential for a big play if either of them see the ability to hook an A or S behind top. And yeah, momentarily sane, if you are the player who is way ahead, it is in your interest to lock down the board and make your opponent take the initiative. Because the idea is that if you are winning the game, you want to reduce risk. You want to reduce the possibility that something crazy, some run of good luck, will just come out of nowhere and help your opponent. And the way you do that is by constricting as much space as you can. So psychologically, that's a challenging thing to learn when you're picking up the game, that if you are the player who is behind, you want to make things volatile, and you want to make things go a little bit crazy. Because, you know, as the player who's playing from behind, it's very easy sometimes to just kind of, when you're starting out, play a little bit paranoid and be afraid that your opponent is going to totally kill you, when instead what you should be doing is creating scoring chances for yourself. So yeah, we'll just watch this one until the pairings are going to be up. It is the last one that we're looking for in this group. Yep, here we're going to see the use of the S. I don't know if those were the plays that I would have gone for. It uses, I think, more vowels than necessary. I would have gone like something like V-I-N-S. So yeah, this is a rec that normally would have a bingo if it had a place to go. There's quite a lot that you could do with it. In fact, like, you know, goateed, faggoted, which is not as offensive as it sounds. It's something else. There's like, I think, I want to say toe-gated is good. Like, there's a lot of stuff that ends with D that wouldn't go anywhere. I'm trying to see if there's anything that would have ended with, like, well, something else entirely. But as you can see, there's no room to go right now. There's nowhere anything can be played except maybe here, maybe here. We can actually take a look at the examiner and see if anything could have gone down. No bingos, as you can see. And at this point, there is enough of a spread in this game that I mean, you wouldn't be able to make up a 200-point difference at this stage. But yeah, they're going to finish out this game and find out very soon that this is not a word. I'm just looking at this quickly to see if there's anything else that would have really come up. But yeah, they really got locked out of the top right. And that's the story of the game here. I mean, LNRT, where are you even going to go with that, right? Like, without vowels to play through, you'd have to just kind of take things one at a time. So, yeah, just one phony on the board, and otherwise they are done, and that's going to be a victory for Enshem. So let me just go back to the lobby, and we'll just await the pairings, I think. And they're going to come up in just a moment. So, one moment. And we'll get into our game 3. So yeah, we'll also find out which dictionary and challenger rule we'll be using. So far today, we've only shown off the North American NWL dictionary, but our next game will be against somebody who does favor the Collins dictionary, I think, so we'll likely be doing that. Although he also plays both, so we'll get into that in a moment and see how it goes. I'm just going to offer it to him now. Yeah, glad you like the music. This is, of course, just a mix from the Legend of Zelda series. Anyway, let's get right into it. This is going to be a Collins game with 5-point challenge, so you'll get to see one of those. I'm not as comfortable with this dictionary, but that's why I'm playing. It is to practice. So, let's hop right in. Okay, game on. I will be going first. And right off the bat, I'm going to be seeing if I have something. Like endowed? Endowed, okay. Let's do it. We'll do this position here, actually, because the W will land on the bonus square. Now, not something like tickets, unfortunately. I kind of wonder if there will be something that will go with it, though. But failing that, we'll just be playing off the tack somewhere, probably. Well, yeah, the double T really does kind of restrict what I can do with this rack, I think. Unless there are just words I don't know. So, until we see what my opponent is doing, we'll just hang on and see what could possibly happen. I could consider my next play. I'd want to probably undouble the T for sure. I wouldn't really want to spend the S just yet. Unless there's a really good reason to do so. And yeah, if I can find some kind of good play that will maybe shed the T and the K. Sashimi, very nice find. Okay, sashimi is... Let's see if we can do anything through the A here. I don't think we'll have anything good, though. What I can do is just kind of go stack. Like... Oh, also, if I had an I to play through, I could have had Tackiest. But unfortunately, the I is not in a position that will allow me to use it. Like if he had sashimi in a slightly different position, maybe so, but he wasn't just going to give that to me, so. What a beautiful find, though. Look at that rack. Really great play. So in the absence of something like stackiest, we'll go stack. It'll open up the S hook down low for something for me to use the S on, so I think that's fairly clear. Okay, we are a bit heavy on consonants. I will want to deal with that somehow. I'm just trying to think about whether there is something here that would say go through an I or an A, or let's see. Yeah, probably just need to do some kind of small play here to shed consonants, but hard to see what that's going to be. Not even necessarily small play. I might even just want to turn over a whole bunch of tiles to really just get rid of some of this stuff. I should, since I have the G, look at this ing ending for 9-letter plays. But I just don't have enough vowels to make that happen, so. Yeah, my rating is a bit different between the two dictionaries. My rating for this dictionary hasn't really settled into something accurate yet, I think, because I haven't played with it that often. But, you know, here's one thing I didn't consider. I completely forgot that in this dictionary, CH is a word. And so if I were playing off tack, the much better place to play off tack would have been here. Like T-A-C-K. First of all, that would have scored a lot more. Secondly, it opens up a spot for me to go S-K-I and do an S-play going to the right without blocking off this lane. So this was a mistake. Tack should absolutely have gone up here, I think. It's just that CH is a word in this dictionary that I often just forget to see because it's, you know, something I just don't think about. So that is something we'll have to go back to the analyzer to look at, but I'm pretty sure tack here is way, way better. Anyway, let's not fixate on that too much. I think I probably just want to play off some of these consonants, like pet here. Don't like keeping all consonants, but 23 points, kind of hard to argue with. If there's something better that will not get into that issue, that would be nice. I don't really like keeping the G. 19 points there, 23 there, but keeping L and GS. So with a 4-point difference, this kind of closes off like crazy though. Whereas this one doesn't really open either. Here I could also go peg. It's 18 points. That's actually maybe a little bit better. A actually goes on top of Jin if we draw an A. I kind of want to kill off to G. And I kind of want to do it now, so let's go with that. It might not be very good, but yeah, still stuck with way too many consonants. Maybe I should have favored playing off an additional consonant over playing off to G, given that keeping NG together is not necessarily terrible. Here we're really kind of stuck in consonant hell, though. We'll have to do something about that. And it will likely be a pretty low-scoring play. Here, I think A goes here. I believe B also goes there on top of blue. But I definitely want to undouble the R's. I definitely want to just get rid of some stuff. You know, even if it's just 5-point play here. It looks terrible, but... and it probably is terrible. If there's something better that I can do, that would be great. But I definitely just want to drop some consonants at this point. So I'm just looking at what my options are for doing that. Like something like Tarn, well, basically the same thing. Neither of these are too good 5-point plays. I'm just also thinking about like what could potentially go in front. And something like Larn, actually, I think is actually good. So that might be a lot better, actually. I would rather keep T than L. That might have been counterproductive, in fact, in terms of just locking up a lot of this side here. But anyway, it is going to give me the J. The jib is likely going to be at play, if we like the cut of that jib. So, momentarily saying, I didn't play peg specifically to close off stuff. I played peg mostly because I was trying to get rid of consonants and get rid of the G and the P, because they don't tend to play well with a lot of other consonants. The problem with that play was that I didn't play off nearly enough consonants. I was still stuck with 4 consonants on my rack, which meant that I was still going to be in trouble the next turn unless I just drew a higher than expected number of vowels. So this was probably not a great play, but I was just trying to look for ways to get my rack out of trouble at that point, and all of the plays were kind of within the same range, like high 10s, low 20s. All of the ones that I could see. So I just needed to pick one that I felt okay with when it comes to what it would do to my rack. So anyway, like I said, this will be my first choice easily. I don't think there's anything on the board that is nearly as good, so that's assuming it remains open. So we'll just wait for my opponent's turn here and see if anything can happen. Like I said, LOO, I believe, does take both the B and the A in front. Given that we have the B, that's something I'll consider for sure. I think it takes the B anyway. I may sometimes be wrong about this stuff, but the priority display, though, should be to score with the J. That's what I should try to do. If I had something that, like a J play that's like a 4-letter word plus an S, this would be a good place for it. Because then the J would basically be a ×4, right? Yeah, we're just going to stick to the plan. If I have an E to play through, I'll have a Regiist. If I have an N to play through, then I might have an... No, I'm trying to think if I would have had an ING play, but it appears not. So yeah, having an E for Regiist is obviously best. I just don't see a way that will happen given the shape of this board. Like, I don't think he's just going to give me an E in a good position. Like, I couldn't imagine what kind of play would do that to me and give me a place to go. So instead, we'll just try to probably just continue getting rid of some Gs, to be honest. Like, even if it is a small play like Gag over here. I'm ahead by a little bit right now, so it's essentially a tie game, though. One thing to remember is that BIS does take an I in front for the bird. The only thing I have here, though, is S, and I don't want to use it. Otherwise, I would have something like with an IS ending. Like, you know, something like Gist, which would then... Oh, it's not too bad, actually. 30 points. And then I would have a Gist, or a Gist, I guess, if I want to string an A down here, so... Given the state of the board, maybe it's not such a bad idea to use the S this way. Because otherwise I'd be looking at something like Gag for 10. And having an additional 20 points off the S is actually kind of worth it. So let's go for it. Especially because I have the A set up over here as well. If I want to use it for something, I don't know if I have anything good for that. I might not. But it's something to keep in mind, like keeping the A for this spot. Momentarily saying it is absolutely a reference to Thelonious Monk. But of course, the Thelonious Monk was playing off the word epistrophe with an E to begin with. So yes, my handle on this platform is after the Monk composition. And yeah, I had my account here kind of, and on other Scrabble servers, like the Internet Scrabble Club, which was the website that people were previously using before Woogles. I was using that name kind of separately from my Twitch name, and it just so happened that because I'm starting to stream this game on Twitch, now my different user handles are starting to collide. So, and for that matter, let's just pop in the definition of epistrophe. Not that we'll ever see that on the board. So yeah, ideally I want to get rid of the V. You know, something like Ova is not too bad. If I have an O or an L to play, sorry, an O or an I to play through, there's Ovolo and Ovoli. I'll just type that in the box here so you can see what I'm talking about. Right now we don't have a place to put that, but that's something we'll be looking for. Getting rid of the V is a fairly high priority, though. I, again, want to take advantage of Agist. It's not the same thing as Agist. Agist, A-G-E-I-S-T, is also good, but I think Agisted, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I don't think I have a good play here that will use the V, though, so... no, Valor does not fit. So instead, I'll be looking at something through here, probably. Do I dare put the G up front? I don't know if I want to. It's always a little bit of a danger to dangle on a triple like that. But... keeps too many vowels, let's not do that. This might actually be the thing I want to do. I mean, I don't want to just leave this, because it's just as likely my opponent will stack a P on that or something. Whoops. The leave here is a bit vowel heavy, but notice that I can use the L for grovel on a future turn if it remains open. Just considering my other options here to see if there's maybe something better I can do, like Vo. Nah, I don't really like that leave. 12 points there, 22 points. Let's do it. I could get hit hard here, but... once again, it's kind of too bad I don't have an A, otherwise something like Axial would have fit here. But yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on the A spot here, especially now that we have 3 A's. Looking at this spot here, I don't think the X will give me anything useful there, though. Okay, I think I want to just dump some A's. The thing about Q in that position is that nothing will go before it, so the Q is totally safe. I'm still ahead by a bit, not enough to be comfortable. Oh wait, no. Do I have... No, I don't still have the G. I was thinking of like something like Galax. But I do not have that anymore. So yeah. We'll hopefully draw to something that will allow me to make an X play up there, but for the moment, I think dumping A's is the right thing to do. So yeah, now I have something. I have Taxa up here. And that will likely be the first play. The first choice, rather. Because at this stage on a board that looks like this, well, being 50 ahead, but with my opponent yet to go, so I'm actually kind of closer to about 20 ahead. A 40-point play like that can make a big difference. So, hopefully that remains open. The fact that I drew so heavily into the A's is kind of in my favor, because it means my opponent is maybe less likely to use that. But remember, other plays can also go down here to just block things off. And so I do need to think about second choices. And yeah, we'll just continue thinking about that. I believe that in this dictionary, NOX is good, and so... actually, EA is also good, so if we want to do something like Axon, that would probably be the second choice play. Because that's kind of a nice sleeve coming out of that. And it scores reasonably. It only scores a little bit less. Now, EW, I think... I want to say it does take a T in this dictionary. Unfortunately, we have nothing that can actually reach right now, otherwise the X in that position would be deadly. But you can see, this is the kind of play that does open up a potential bingo spot. So we need to be aware of that. So, choices are going to be 43 there, keeping NON, and 33 here, keeping NOAT, which We have to think about whether that would be worth the 10-point sacrifice. Given that it's a better leave, and I still have the ability to use the A in the top left spots. So the question is, do I want to sacrifice 10 points to have a more bingo-like rack to deal with? Actually kind of a hard call. Because having to double end there is not great. But is it like minus 10 points? Not great. Tough one. I think we're going to go for this. As you can see, I still have access to this for another high-scoring play. So that's the rationale behind it, is that I still can play there. I think Para is also fine. Really depends on what we want to do. Had something so close to like Atropine or something. And let me think here, because I believe that Tarpon is good, and so Tarpon is something to consider with 33. It really does open up, though. So let's think about this. I don't believe I have any 7s just out of the box. Yeah, you can see my opponent is making small plays, and small plays like that kind of imply that he's close to something. KIR, I believe this takes an N. That's something that we need to keep in mind. You're noticing a lot of fish-related words get used. Yep, that's correct. That's absolutely the case. So we can go Tappa and keep Nor. 28 points there. Or we can go Tarpon, which is 33, but has the risk of kind of opening up quite a lot more space. They both kind of open up, to be honest. Right now... Tarpon also keeps one vowel. Going into a bag that has a little bit of ugliness in it. It's got U, 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 V, Y, Y. Like, there's some stuff that suggests that we might not want to draw too quickly. So we could go Tappa, we could go... I think I was thinking of Para. And the advantage of Para is that you keep the T for that spot on the right side. Let me see if there's maybe anything better that I can do. Yeah, because then we can keep the T for this one, and also N is still going to be good here, so let's go Para. Yeah, as you can see, some pretty potentially ugly stuff coming out of the bag. You can also see in the bag too, though, with 2 S's and a decent variety of vowels that my opponent might feel like he's close to something. We should think about closing off this position soon. Because given that I am 80 ahead, the thing I'm likeliest to lose to at this point is something like a bingo that hits really hard. Going down this way. But I don't know if we have a good way to deal with it right now. So we'll just hang tight here and yeah, I guess there is the S hook down here, so Currently, these are the lanes we're looking at. Something that has a vowel start down here or an S down here. There is that long shot of having a T or an E, actually, going down the right side. That's something I need to consider, is that something with the E in second position is absolutely a threat. Liars. Yeah. Pick out liars and so on. You see, I want to kill this position, but the problem with doing that is that that creates an S spot that goes down the N. And so maybe that's not what I want to be looking for. This is clearly a risk, though. E in second position here with 3 E's unseen. And it's something that I should have been taking more seriously earlier when I was deciding whether to play on the top left or the bottom right. But I don't have a good way of blocking it that doesn't also make my position worse. And that's a bit of a problem. So, if I can have like a decent way to block this off, that would be ideal. None of the 2 tile plays with O are really going to do the job because O still leaves a massive lane open. Yeah, I'm looking at this now. I'm kind of regretting going top left because if I'd considered the E hook here, like, I think this is actually a lot better defensively to have gone over here earlier with whatever it was I was looking at, Tarbon, I think. So let's think about this, because maybe it's correct to play this anyway, because even if you have a bingo going down here, it's at least not as bad as one that hits the triple. Do I have something? No, not something I recognize, but I'm actually close to something decent myself. But these are fairly low-scoring tiles as well, so if we're not going to get a bingo, they're not really that good. However, I can do something like in tone on the next turn. And that will kill a lot of opportunities off. So, I think this is almost certainly going to be the play. Notice, actually, my opponent is closing off either to keep up with score or because he thinks that that might be a danger. I think in tone is absolutely the play here, though, so we'll go for it. Not enough tiles, unfortunately, for something like deficient. Okay. Infected. Infected actually does not fit, unfortunately. Would have been nice, but it does not fit. Well, I mean, if he just wants to dangle an E in the middle of nowhere, there's nowhere that will actually happen. Because it's not like an E is just going to magically appear somewhere wide open. Okay. 2 tiles left in the bag. AHMOSUUUY. So I need to stay ahead and not drown in U's if I suddenly see a whole bunch of the U's come out. So, and the risk is also a big play using the S, locking onto that position, so. D here could be something that is to my advantage, so if I just go, you know, Fid or something. Fid instead of Fed because it's not vulnerable to the H. Or I can go Find. Drop some consonants. 2 tiles left in the bag. That will leave me with 5 tiles in my rack to my opponent's 7. The C can be a bit of a concern this late in the game because the C can be hard to fit. Like, you don't want to get stuck with it. So I need to think of a plan for what to do to not get stuck with the C. Because that is actually a bit of a risk. And I don't know that I actually have a good answer to that, except for ice, like ICE going here. You don't just want to rely on one spot, though, but at least we know that a spot exists. If we draw something like a U, and with the 3 U's remaining 2,000 in the bag, is likely that we will, we could potentially have something like deuce over here, D-E-U-C-E. I'm just making sure I don't get stuck with the C for playing here. Oh look, shoot. Not that it will go down here for parachute. Because unfortunately, all those other tiles are in the way. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. We were saying a few minutes ago that you thought I might have this locked in, but definitely don't want to be confident about that too early. This game was definitely too close to be declaring that so soon. And let's see what we can do. This, I think, is actually good. Vice, like that. But then, on the assumption... Oh, we got 2 minutes to look at this. I gotta move quickly. I need to think about what my opponent can do in terms of plays here, because HUT is going to be -12. This is going to be a +2. 3, 5, 7. My opponent needs 28 points with the H. Sorry, with the MAUS. Like, he needs to have a closing play that scores 28. Let's see if there's anything else that will present itself. You can also do pouch. 15 -4. That's a lot better. That's +11. +11, 366. He needs 33 points to win. And there's nothing that he'll do to kill me up here. Let's do it. Get rid of the high consonants as soon as I can. So I'm under a minute here, but that's okay because this will be maximum 1 play to finish this out. I don't actually see him having a play. Well, now he has a place for AMUS, but like, I gave him a spot for that, but it is going to be a losing spot. It's going to be 9, 10, 11, 12, and 5, 17 points. Yeah, he's not going to make it. So he does have an outplay now. I actually don't know if he did previously, like whether there was a place he could have gone to spend all of the remaining tiles. But the thing is like, this doesn't give him a win, right? So I'm not actually worried about that. You were hoping I would see pouch, yeah. Well, I'm glad we saw it. If he can't see a winning sequence, and I don't think he will, I think it's very likely he'll just play the best remaining play here, Amuse, and get 4 points off of me. So that's going to be +21 for him, and it'll be a pretty close finishing score, fairly low scoring on both sides. But as you can see, we locked ourselves out of the entire top right side of the board, right? So that's the kind of shape that's going to occur in terms of getting us all locked up. But yeah, definitely kind of regret leaving this open as long as I did, because like I feel like this could have gone wrong in many, many ways, especially like once I opened up with Tav. If I had opened up for an S bingo, I probably would have still lost to that. Whoops, my drawing tool is off. Okay, there we go. So I feel like I was in a bad situation here in that like I didn't know how to deal with this, and if I'd thought about the EW spot more carefully earlier on, I would have killed it. A Tarpon for sure, so. MUs, yeah, we'll take the win. So yeah, a bit of a tough board to work with here. But we managed to scrape our way out of that with a 15-point win. Thank you for the GGs. Let's go over the board and see what kind of spectacular plays we missed. Yeah, endowed is going to be the play. There's stuff like dowered and such, but positionally and score-wise, I was very happy with this. So. A midship, look at that. He actually has lots of stuff to do here. Jihadism. Samithi, I don't think I actually know. Okay, it's Hindi, that's why. So yeah, he's gonna find sashimi, but a midship, of course, would also take the S on the end, which would be pretty fun. But yeah, thinking to designate the blank as J for jihadism would be spectacular. Would have been a very different game considering how much sashimi just kind of locked us up. So, I actually didn't know Tackets, and I don't know I would have seen that spectacular 6-tile parallel regardless. Tacket is Scots. It might be something that is a Collins word, but let's just check this quickly. It isn't. So I saw Tackets on my rack and I just didn't know the word, and like I said, I didn't think about the CH hook here anyway. I also didn't know Stackets because I was looking at Stacket on my rack, and again, I just don't know these words. Probably because by probability, the double T and the CK don't come up as early as you would hope they would. Stacket, however, is going to be a Collins word. But yeah, the beautiful tack, like CH hook on top of sashimi, that's something that was just a board vision issue for me. What a wonderful word, though, tackets. We have to keep this in mind next time we are looking for an I for tackiest. And yeah, tack, much better than what I did with stack. 38 points there. Instead, we got 20 points. We got about half the number of points, and positionally, we're not doing much better. So yeah, really good pair to know, for sure. Yeah, this was definitely going to be an oof. Oh, he plays of... Again, it might just be a board vision thing, like he is a Collins player, but a Collins player who I think was originally in WL, and so sometimes some of the Collins stuff can be tricky to see, or he might just have decided to keep the O. Just have 2 vowels left, so who knows. I'd just forgotten about Feg, actually. Because that's another Collins word. Like, I was looking for places to play off PEG, which is ultimately what I do up here. I just completely forgot that Feg was in there. Feg is a segment of an orange. Okay, he's got the retinol rack, and retinol is not going to go anywhere. So, that's a frustrating position to be in. Yeah, really frustrating position to be in, actually, when you have something that's like a clear bingo rack and it just goes nowhere. Especially because, you know, you have stuff that looks like it has potential, like the S and so on. And neural, I don't think I actually know most of these words. Neural, Jin with a G. Let's check some of this stuff. I have to learn some of these call-ins for us. Hey, Netcat, welcome. Yeah, Netcat, we're just finishing up. I played my 3rd game, but we're doing the post-game. Post-mortem now to see all the stuff I didn't see, like unstack and... rather, this is my opponent's turn, but he didn't have unstack. And yeah, once again, he's got another turn where he's got a bingo rack. He's got routine, and it's just going nowhere. So... Also, one thing I wanted to check earlier were front hooks on Lu. And unfortunately, Netcat's not in the dictionary yet. We'll fix that eventually, I'm sure. Now, where's Jibs going? Ah, yeah, here. No, wouldn't have spent the S for that. I think this was clearly the best play. Restack. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the E-hook on Jib there. It's a lot better than the stacker that we got lower down or later, in fact. Tactics, what is the crypto command? I see that it's just giving you a lot of the... Oh, I see. For everything that has a cryptographic substitution. Or the same kinds of duplications. I didn't actually know that command was in the bot, but that's really spectacular. So we learned something new about the bot today. That it just automatically does cryptographic rotations or substitutions. So I'm sure we'll find some kind of useful application for that someday that does not have to do with Scrabble, because I'm not sure how that would actually help you with Scrabble. And, yeah, look at all that cryptocurrency. Unlike certain real-life circumstances, none of that is going down. Rag over here with a double G. I don't think Oh, yeah. There are a whole bunch of double G words that I get confused with all the time. It's a list I've looked at before, but it's one of the more confusing force lists, I think. So there's grist. Right, because I was looking at the ibis spot up top, and I did in fact end up doing gist to leave the A-hook for myself. So he's already got the Q at this point, and Weem is actually a call-ins word, I'm pretty sure. It comes from Edmund Spencer. Fairy Queem, apparently. And yeah, here's where he's going to go with Stacker, because Restack is no longer available. Okay, so I was looking for stuff like this, and I think I was just unsure about Voller. Because that was precisely the kind of play I was trying to look for, like something that would fit the A in that position, but spin the V. And there's Orville. Orville is a plant. So either of those would have been just fine. And so yeah, going down here, that was kind of risky. But as you can see, you know, stuff like Grove and Glove. I don't know if there's a particular reason why I chose Grove instead of Glove. I mean, Grove does leave the L, but Glove also leaves the R, right? So I think going for a Grove instead of Glove was actually kind of a minor error. Like, not a huge one. I mean, it does obviously give my opponent the Q spot going here, but nothing here is going to score that well. Noxel, I don't know, because Noxel is Collins for sure, I think. I looked at all the NWL 5s before, so... No L's in a bag. Yeah, that's actually a good point. We've got 3 R's remaining after that play, and that was the case L, which I hadn't thought about. So that's a good point for making that decision. The truth is I didn't think that through, though. I just didn't really look at it properly. Relating to wrongful injury by an animal or person belonging to another. So yeah, I do need to look through the Collins Power Tile 5s a little more carefully. Look at how closed this board is. Like, everything is just going to be ugly. Interesting that I think this is a turn where he goes EU instead of something like Ru. Yeah. It keeps to double R, but you can see that he almost certainly is thinking about this as something that would fit to the E hook, and I should have spotted that earlier than I did. So, taxa and accent. So, I was considering these two. You notice how the evaluation for these is almost identical. They're kind of 0.5 apart. So, I was actually kind of correct in thinking of accent as something that is competitive despite the 10-point sacrifice. And given this board situation here, I think having the ANOT leave was something I was more comfortable with. Zoanna, this is one that I also didn't think about. I have seen it before, but it is something that is Collins only. Zoanna and Zoanon. So that's really quite a fancy one there. Liars, great play there. I was thinking about that E-hook and accent, but to actually use it for something over 30 points is a nice play. Especially, you know, given that this is something that kills the possibility of taking the S over. I'm thinking about that and wondering if that's something he should be doing from a position of about 60 points behind. Like, it is a pretty big catch-up play, but at the same time, you know, it is going to remove the possibility of that as a lane that is available. So anyway, Tarpon is the play that's going to evaluate best here. And again, I kind of regret not doing it given the situation on the right side of the board. It worked out in the end, but I feel like defensively, Tarpon, as soon as I thought about this hook properly and the limited number of options I had for actually closing it in a way that would properly close up, Tarpon really felt like it was supposed to be the right play. Tarpan. Yes, the horse. Big catch-up play, exactly. Really just a whole bunch of mustard instead. Yeah, lots of different spellings of trepan, of course, and related words if you kind of want to take a load off your head. Let's just do the related search there. Okay, lysis, using both of the S's. Oh yeah, no, that's where he goes later. Yeah, that's right. Liars. Tonant, I don't think I actually knew. Adjective. So yeah. It's something I might not have seen anyway because it's a sort of low point 6. That's the kind of thing that's very easy to just not know if it's a low point 6 that doesn't take an S or something else that makes it a 7. And as a Collins word, I just didn't know it. Avant is kind of nice. I actually don't know if Avant is only on one lexicon. It's one of those that, like, yeah, I didn't think I would have challenged it in NWL, and I would have been correct in not doing so. So yeah, I did kind of read that he likely had a second S. He actually drew into the second S if you... no, he already had the second S when he spent it on Liars. I was kind of lucky that his rack here is Absolute Drek. I can kind of see now why he's locking up on the top left, given that he's got a double Y to go with. 13 tiles. Yeah, he's behind by 70. I guess exchange would have been a bad idea because it would have been signaling... Well, it would have given me tempo to close up rapidly, but... I wonder if there's a better play that he could have gone with that would not close up so dramatically. But this is a hard rack for him to deal with. Like, this is the kind of draw that sort of seals the deal on his side. Like, you're looking at a rack like this in this situation, and it's sort of at this point that he's thinking that he might not be able to pull it out, I would guess. Gonna kill that with in tone. I was happy with that play. Not much to talk about. Zed is going to catch up quite a bit there and really breathe down my neck. I actually do like Yez here for the 8-point sacrifice. Because the Y is not really going to be that helpful, I think, on this board. Find, I was happy with. We found it. Speaking of the catch-up play earlier, Mayo's isn't quite a catch-up play, but... Yeah, UE is a really weird one. It is... I mean, if you drive a lot in Australia, I guess you take a UE all the time, but... Yeah, there's a lot of stuff momentarily saying where, you know, you wouldn't necessarily think of it as spelled out as a Scrabble word, but... Stuff like letters of the alphabet, for instance, like a lot of them are valid words. Like the letter H is AITCH, for instance. And there are a lot of things like that that appear in Scrabble and that you would never really think of spelling otherwise. Mayos would leave him with UU. Let's see if we actually had an outplay here. Potch. Potch would actually have a much harder Amuse play to deal with. But apparently it comes out ahead by 3 points when you actually run through the endgame. Anyway, I'm fairly happy with Pouch. That pretty much wins it at this point. Amuse is going to be the biggest play there. And yeah, that's going to be it. 15-point win. Just kind of barely escaped. I felt like this in the bottom right, once again, was something that could potentially get me into trouble. I was kind of lucky that he drew as many U's and Y's at the end as he did, because with a big Z play like here, literally a Z play, I could have found myself in a tough situation really quickly if I'd just drawn UU at the end or something like that. Anyway, that's going to be it. So, yeah, momentarily saying CH, as I said, is a word that's only valid in this dictionary. That's why I was talking much earlier about missing the opportunity to play TACK here, and indeed I missed TACKETS all the way over. Because I normally play the other dictionary, I often just forget about CH. CH is unusual in that it is the only two-letter word that has the C. And so in the other dictionary, in NWL, there are no two-letter words that have the C, which makes the C, along with the V, one of the blocking tiles. In that if you have a C or a V, you can't play parallel to it like that. In this dictionary, you can if you have the H, because the H will go beside the C. But in both dictionaries, the V will work like a blocking tile, where you can't play. You can't play immediately off to the side like that. So defensively, it's very important to know that kind of thing. And of course, the first thing that new players learn is the whole list of two-letter words, right? But it's very important to remember that certain letters are going to be more flexible than others, depending on which two-letter words they make or don't make. So something like the X or something like the M, which go with every vowel, and the M goes with every vowel and the Y, they're absolutely great in kind of tight parallel situations. Something like the C or the V, you are thinking of them as obstructing space. Anyway, that's going to be it for this stream. Thank you so much, everybody who joined me for this. we will be back on our weekend schedule of Mario Maker. We've also recently been running a Captain Toad treasure tracker, and I finished a pretty big chunk of what I wanted to do with that on the Monday to Tuesday stream, but we'll be doing at least one more session with it to show off some more of the endgame content. So apart from that, I will send you all onto a raid in just a minute, so stick around for that. Hope you enjoyed the games and a commentary today, and thank you once again for all of the GGs and all of the input and questions and general curiosity and amusement in the chat. So until next time, we will be bidding you good night for now. Thanks for watching. Stick around if you want to be sent on to somebody else interesting. But other than that, fare thee well.